we have to do inorganic growth, right?
Yeah.
Okay, can down inorganic growth. Okay, so first of all, why would a business inorganic growth, we know roughly speaking, it's about the mergers and
Yes, exactly.
acquisitions. So you grow your business by acquiring a new business or by merging your business with an established or another one. Share screen. Back. Awesome. The question that arises is that why would a business choose to opt for inorganic growth?
Um, might be cheaper.
So mergers and takeovers, in fact, they are very resource intensive. Okay, the first reason would be to exploit or to make use of synergies. So synergy is roughly speaking one plus or two businesses, whatever they are capable of managing in isolation. When they put their resources together, they are able to achieve more than the sum of their individual efforts. This is synergy. I'll repeat, synergy is when two or more businesses they are able to do more or achieve more when they put their resources together as compared with what their individual output could have been. All right.
Yes.
All right. Then it is a quick and easy way to expand business. So if you're looking for expansion, one way might be organic growth. So you'd have to do a lot of market research. You'll have to launch products, maybe alter your products. You acquire another business, and boom, the next day you have whatever that business earns it yours. It's yours. So it's a quick and easy way to expand. Obviously, you'll have to put a lot of thought into merger as well, which business you choose to merge with. Um, which business you choose to merge with, or which business you choose to acquire, because we'd see in a bit there are some problems that are associated with inorganic growth as well. The third is it mentions in the book that it's easy and cheaper than growing internally, but I don't think so. It might be quick. Business mergers and acquisitions, they involve a lot of money. They involve
But
a lot.
isn't it cheaper because you're sharing resources with the other company, so that you don't have to buy
Event
from suppliers
you have to.
yourself?
The thing is that eventually, after acquiring the business, you achieve economies of scale. But as with regards to, let's say, I want to my current output, or okay, let's talk about output. My output is currently 5,000 units. I want to increase my output to 10,000 units. There is one way of growing internally, or let's say this is sales. Okay, I want to increase this sales to 10,000 units, not output, it's sales. So I want to increase my sales from 5,000 units to 10,000 units. One of my competitors, he also sells, his business is at the same level as mine. If I go for buying his business, I'll not only be buying resources, I'll also have to pay for his goodwill. He won't just sell me his business for the for the value of all the physical assets that he has. He'll charge me for the goodwill, the brand or the name that he has established for himself over the period of time as well. Whereas when I just want to increase my level of output, I can simply build another factory, or all that I have to do on my own will not involve payment of goodwill that will come into play if I'm going to buy another business or deciding to merge myself with another business. Do you
Yeah.
get this? So that is why it's not, I don't think it would be easy In some cases it could be, in some cases it could be, and the book it mentions it could be, but practically speaking, I think it's more expensive from what I know. Anyway, the book mentions is, I'm just writing it down for the sake of it. If you want to discuss this point in the exam, I strongly recommend that you discuss it with the nuisance or the thing that I've just told you, that uh, when we go for buying another business, it involves purchase of goodwill as well. It's not that we are buying the other business for just the value of its physical assets. So the purchase of goodwill could make the transaction more expensive as compared to if the business had opted for internal growth. Do you get my point?
Yeah.
Okay. Then there is another point. I'm surprised the sort of points they've given over here in the book for this. So it says that the businesses, they have cash and they want to use. So they just go about buying business, in which case it would be capital, or they are financed by borrowing the, I mean, all the assets that a business has, somebody has to finance it, right? So either the owner himself or the owners themselves finance it, in which case it is capital, or they borrow the money and then they buy the assets using that borrowed money. Now, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever profits that a business earns, since they belong to the owner, they are accumulated over here as reserves. So whatever profits a business has, it has got two options. Every year it earns a profit. It can either distribute that profit in the form of cash among the shareholders, or it can withhold that profit and reinvest that in the business. So whatever is withheld and reinvested in the business appears as reserves. Following me?
Yeah.
So he said that the amount of reserves of these businesses, those accumulated profits from the past, that is equal to the cash these businesses have, which means they're earning profit and they're just parking it as cash. They didn't distribute it among the, you withheld this profit because you said that you are going to use it for some innovative idea. So it shouldn't be appearing as cash over here in the statement of financial position. So these businesses, if you look at their financial statements, Google, Apple, and I don't know about Facebook as well. I actually opened the financial statements of Google after this, and it's true. All the reserve, the amount of reserves that they've got an equal amount of cash or cash equivalents. So if they had any innovative ideas, it wouldn't have been cash over here. It would have been parked in the form of some assets above, some research or some project which was underway in that form of asset. Did you get this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so here, I mean, it all came about because this point mentioned in the business that if business has got excess cash, maybe they should be innovating, and if they can't think of innovation, then maybe they should go out and buy some more businesses and expand their horizons
To
and expand
get
their
more
operation.
ideas.
To get more ideas or to expand their operation. I mean, I could start a business on your own, or you can invest in some business, right? These are the
Mm.
two options that you have. The same is for the business. If business it has got excess cash, either they use it for some innovative project of their own, or they invest in some other business, they buy another business. If they're too busy managing their own operations and they can't think of more innovative ideas or more ideas to expand on, maybe they should invest in some other business which has these ideas and which needs resources to expand. So they provide them cash, they get ownership, and that business expands, and they together share the profits, or they together share the benefits of that expansion. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Mergers, they could be for defensive reasons. For example, and this, I'll just first write it, and then this is a bit tricky from ethical point of view. So these big corporations, again, the example is of these tech companies in the US. There has been some criticism on them that when an organization grows too big, in the business world, the thing is that everybody, they do not maintain the ownership of their business till the very end. For example, Mark Zuckerberg has been the owner of Facebook right from the start till the end, right? The Google owners, the Sergey Brin and what's the other guy? There were these two guys who started Google, Larry Page. So they two, the two of them have been the large majority shareholders of the business
Yeah.
right from the very start. But other businesses, if you think of them, WhatsApp is now owned by Facebook. The original
Yeah.
person who created WhatsApp is not now the owner of it. That person is still alive, yet he does not own this
Yeah.
business. The same is for Instagram. The
Mm.
thing, so one of these, this is called exit strategy in business. Some business owners, what they do is they are good at starting new businesses. So they have an idea, they develop this business up to a certain level, and then they seek some big business to acquire them, or some big business gives them like a huge paycheck that just not paycheck, a blank check, not a blank check, a check of big enough amount that this is the check, here you go, uh, this is what you think you could earn in the next 50 years, right? So
Yeah.
I'm giving you this amount right now, you just give me the ownership of your business, and maybe I'll be able to use it and earn more than what you are capable of earning. So the thing is that these big businesses, they are sometimes accused of eliminating competition. They buy these companies which they think could be their competitors in the future, and they just shelve their technology. they,
Yeah.
they do not acquire it so that they can grow it further. They acquire it so that they can eliminate competition. They just shelve their technology. So this thing again, it has got an ethical aspect to it. Okay, so the next reason the business they want to expand is to respond to economic changes. So for example, uh, acquisition or merger, respond to economic changes, respond to economic changes. So for example, in Pakistan, I remember many years back we had this Royal Bank of Scotland. A few international banks, they were operating in Pakistan, and then they saw that the economic condition of Pakistan, it wasn't improving, so they wanted to back out of this investment. But with bank, it's
Yeah.
tricky. You have got these depositors and people who have invested money with you, or who have given money to you as security. You can't just one day say that I want to wrap up my business and leave. You need to have someone buying your operations or taking over your customers and then continue to provide services to them.
Yeah.
So the that acquisition, so Faisal Bank in Pakistan, they acquired the operations of RBS. Whatever account they had in Pakistan, they acquired that for some amount, and then RBS, they withdrew from Pakistan. So sometimes mergers and acquisitions, they happen to respond to economic changes. Okay. Um. So it could be a way to gain entry into another country. I want to I want to start a business in UAE. Let's say I am not really, if I start a business right from the scratch in UAE, it would take me a lot of time to get myself established in the market and to become a renowned player as compared with other people who are doing the same business. So one way I can gain entry into the UAE market is to buy an existing business in the market. Easy.
Yeah.
Okay, I could be encouraged by globalization. All businesses, they are operating globally. For example, I see my competitors, they are overseas, or they are selling at higher prices. They are selling their goods at higher prices to overseas customers. So I might be encouraged by that and buy new businesses overseas or merge with a business overseas. Economies of scale, a very simple reason. You grow economies of scale. What else? The business, for example, the owners, they see more prestige in a business, bigger business. Okay, so
Mm.
just to have more prestige, just to look more prestigious, they want to grow size of the business. They go about acquiring other businesses or merging with other businesses. Okay, so and for the reasons the business would grow. What is the difference between merger and acquisition?
Uh,
Merger
Merger
is
is
the same would happen with the acquisition as well, right? If I acquire a business, I mean, it could or could not. Partly you're right. Partly you're right. So merger, when the two businesses they join their operations, they are sort of owners at par. They both have sort
yeah,
of equal ownership or equal say in what becomes the resultant entity. In acquisition, one becomes the parent entity or the holding company. I can't all belong to the owner company. Then, so the next thing that we have, there are a few ways in which these businesses they could merge. So the first one that we have is it is called integration. So the first kind of integration that we have is horizontal integration. In horizontal integration, you merge with or you acquire a business who is at the operating in the same market as yours. So not only in the same market but at the same level in the supply chain as yours. So you are acquiring or merging your business with a competitor. This is called horizontal integration. So for example, an oil drilling company, or what are those called? Um, Extraction and E&Ps, extraction and production companies, those which drill oil from the crude oil from the earth. Okay, so if one E&P company acquires another or merges with another, it would be a horizontal integration. If one oil refinery it merges with another, it would be uh, horizontal
horizontal.
integration. If when one OMC oil marketing company, those petrol pump companies that you have, if one merges with the other, if Pepsi merges with Coca-Cola, it would be horizontal
Horizontal.
integration. Okay, so the next that we have is the
A
next
horizontal integration is merging with the company with the same level as you.
with the same level as ours, and the same level I do not mean same level of revenue, it means at the same level in the supply chain. So for example, let's see vertical integration. Let's say oil refinery and oil marketing companies, those which operate the petrol pumps. So they are both in the petroleum industry, but one refinery acquiring an OMC or merging with an OMC, it won't be horizontal integration, it would be vertical integration since they have the supplier customer relationship. So vertical integration it happens in businesses. Again, the supplier and the customer they are in the same industry, but the relationship is different. Here you have competitors and here you have supplier slash customer. You sound tired today. Just
No, it's fine, sir.
mhm. Just came back from playing a match,
Yeah, practice.
soccer,
Basketball.
basketball. Okay, so vertical integration is when you. Oh, okay. Did you get the concept right for horizontal integration that you are merging
Yeah.
with or
But
acquiring another
vertical,
hmm.
yeah, yeah.
It has to be a
What?
supplier or a customer. So first, let's say in vertical, I've got two further offshoots. One is vertical backward integration, and one is vertical forward integration. Okay, vertical backward is when a business acquires its supplier. So, an oil marketing company, when it acquires a refinery or when it merges with a refinery, that would be backward integration.
Mm.
And forward integration would be when a refinery acquires an oil marketing company. You understand the difference between the refinery and the oil marketing company,
Yeah,
right? All right.
yeah, yeah.
So when the refinery it acquires the oil marketing company, that would be forward integration. They are acquiring one of their customers. And when oil marketing company they acquire the or they merge with refinery, that would be
Suppliers.
the suppliers, and that would be backward integration.
Yeah.
The last kind of integration that we have is called what we call conglomerate. So in conglomerate, you acquire or merge with a business of totally different industry. So a company, let's say a refinery, if they acquire or merge with a food business, okay,
Hmm?
that would be conglomerate. Or
What's conglomerate?
conglomerate is where you invest in or merge with or acquire unrelated company. So
Oh,
so different line of business. They are neither your competitor nor your supplier nor your customer.
like a
Totally
different
different.
market?
Hmm. A different market and geographical market. So oil refinery in Pakistan merges with an oil refinery in UAE. Is that different market or same market? Geographically, the market is different. So the
But
better
same market though.
same market in terms of the product that they are
Yeah.
selling. So market isn't a better word to use over here. It's better to say unrelated business,
Unrelated businesses merging?
merger or acquisition. We are talking about integration. So integration, it means both mergers and acquisitions.
Okay.
Okay, so conglomerates, for example, you are. I gave you the example of you being an oil refinery. You acquire business of a food business, or you integrate with the food business. That would be conglomerate. Example of conglomerate is usually the group of companies where they have, for example, a bank. If they have an investment in oil market as well, or they also own a food company, or they also own a FMCG, fast moving consumer goods company, or a store, that sort of thing.
Mm.
So a person or a business which has its investments in various industries, for example, they have an automobile company as well as a, let's say, electronics manufacturing company. Is Samsung example of conglomerate? I don't know their sub entities, but they produce all kinds of things. Do you know Samsung also produces cars?
Cars?
Hmm. My cousin is in Korea. He told me that Samsung also produces cars. So what I hope is that for car they have got a separate company. For these electronic equipments, mobile phones and stuff, they've got a separate company. And if they've got these two separate companies, then it would be an example of conglomerate, since these two are totally unrelated markets. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's all right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
that was horizontal integration. All right.
Yes.
So one advantage is competition elimination. What else?
Uh, cheaper?
Second advantage would be possible economies of scale.
Honest.
Economies of scale is that you would, the idea is that when you have a larger operation, your average cost should go down. But we know that beyond a certain point, the average costs, if you increase your operations, the average costs go up. Diseconomies of scale, right?
Mm.
So we never know whether this integration it would result in economies of scale or diseconomies of scale. The business, if it gets into if it chooses to integrate, hopefully they are not foreseeing diseconomies of scale. I mean, why would you choose to integrate when you know that your costs would go up? So most likely they are expecting economies of scale. That is why I said that it's possibly economies of scale.
Mm.
That economies of scale are possible when you grow your operations, but it's a possibility. It's not guarantee. You might get into diseconomies of scale as well.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Uh,
Called and you seek out the functions or the levels of hierarchy or the processes which can be eliminated from the business so that costs are reduced. So in mergers, what happens, for example, both companies they've got chief financial officers. Eventually you would need just one chief, right? Both companies they've got separate CEOs. If you're merging it together, you'd eventually need one CEO.
can you repeat?
Rationalization. Rationalization
Rationalization.
is rationalization. It can happen even without integration. So in itself, what rationalization is that you look at a business, you are the owner of your business, and you see what are the redundancies in your business, what are the processes that can be eliminated, what are the levels of hierarchies that can be eliminated, what are the different roles that can be eliminated from your business, and your business would still function.
Yeah.
All right. So that is rationalization. Seeking out
So you
possible.
can make like communication better,
So you can make communication better. You can reduce your costs. You can make things. You can make operations faster.
faster. Yeah, yeah.
So with this horizontal integration, there is the scope for rationalization as well.
But how would rationalization be an advantage for horizontal integration?
So see, you have got two businesses. Previously, that industry as a whole, it was, let's say there was just these two businesses. There was just Careem and Uber. Careem and Uber example is difficult to apply over here because Uber, they decided to allow Careem to run as a separate entity. So when you acquire a
But the
business,
shares go to Uber, right?
yes, the profits they eventually go to Uber.
Yeah.
Correct, correct. But the thing is that the Kareem, for now, it has been operating as a separate entity like they were before. Just that they have acquired the share ownership, or at least that's what they're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
the rationalization is, for example, uh, you had two finance teams for two different businesses.
Yeah.
Now, when you combine the two businesses, you would need just one finance team, right?
Yeah.
For the combined business. So there would be a lot of duplicate of jobs, and from those duplications, you can uh, remove those people. There are redundancies when there is integration.
But isn't that like a disadvantage?
That would be
Like
disadvantage to
this,
the people
like
to the people who
unemployment.
to the people who lose jobs, but
Yeah.
for the business, it's reducing cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so similarly, but other example of redundancies, majorly it's that. Other than that, you can choose to reduce level of hierarchies. For example, you had a senior reporting to an assistant manager, who reported to a manager, who reported to a senior manager, who reported to a director, who reported to a partner. So let me just write that over here quickly. So there was a senior in the organization. Okay. So now you say, why do we have this manager in between? We can still manage by removing this role.
Yeah.
Okay, and the AMs, they can report directly to senior manager. So this is one one thing. I'm giving you all the examples of delayering as of now, like rationalization. The same the business could do, it can look at the manufacturing process of the organization, what processes are being involved, and then they can choose to eliminate. For example, you're applying QC after every stage. So you can maybe choose to apply QC at alternate stages of production. Obviously, it would have its downside that previously you had a better grip over quality control, but maybe you don't need that much of that.
Mm.
Okay, so rationalization, it need not necessarily happen in HR or the hierarchy. It can happen elsewhere in the organization as well. The point is, with integration, you have scope for rationalization. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. The next advantage of integration, horizontal integration, is it gives better bargaining power with supplier. So better bargaining power. Buying from the supplier. Now it's two. So since you are there, more of their business depends on you than it used to depend before. Previously, there were two separate companies, and their business did not depend as much on any single of them. But now, since the two of you are combined, the larger chunk of their revenue depends on your business. So you have more power to exploit. Are you writing these things down as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh,
Wait,
let's
so
hmm,
more bargaining power over
over
suppliers
suppliers.
is because you have two of the biggest companies.
Not
So
necessarily
that
biggest,
means the suppliers,
not necessarily biggest, but since, for example, previously uh, there were, let's say, 20 companies, each buying 5% of a supplier's revenue. So 5% this was buying, 5% this was buying, 5% another was buying, and it was distributed evenly, right,
yeah.
among 20 companies. So now these two, they decided to merge. So
Mm.
for all other companies, they just make up 5% of suppliers' revenue. Now this joint business, it makes up the 10% business.
Yeah.
Okay. And the case could be that another business he had 30% of, let's say 555. How much is it? 15%. There was another business which had 15% of its sales, 30, 60, and another which had 40% of its sales. So these two previously, they just made up 5% of that supplier's sale. Now they have joined together, they become 10%. They're not the biggest company, but
Yeah.
now the supplier would worry more about their business. He would be more concerned about their business than he was before, because now it makes
Yeah.
a larger chunk of his revenues.
Yeah.
So not necessarily the biggest are these two, 40% and 30%. They're
Yeah.
not the biggest, yet they make up a larger component of suppliers' revenue than before the merger.
Mm.
You get it?
But how, like,
So
larger chunk of,
let's see. I buy 5% of your revenue. I mean, I buy 5% of the goods that you sell, and I buy 10% of the goods you sell. In which case, you'd listen more to me.
hmm? Can you repeat?
There are two scenarios. I buy just 5% of the products that you sell,
Yeah.
and the other scenario is that I buy 10% of the products that you sell.
Yeah.
In which case, would I have, let's say, more respect of yours,
So
or you're
the
better in
supplier
change?
wants the company to keep buying from him,
Yes.
so that's why he chooses
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
the
So
one that's upstream. Yeah.
previously, if any of them chose to buy from a different supplier, it would just make 5% of the supplier's revenue go away.
Yeah.
But now, if they choose to not buy from this
Make all
supplier,
of it go away.
they'll make 10% of the revenue go away.
Mm.
So 10%
Mm.
would be a bigger hit than 5% of revenue going away.
Yeah.
So that is the thing.
How can I write that in words, like notes?
Um, to explain this thing, more bargaining power.
Mm.
Since the newly integrated business
Yeah.
would constitute a larger percentage of suppliers' revenue,
Business would
constitute
constitute
a larger percent of suppliers' revenue.
larger percent of supplier revenue.
This business would now have more exploitation power, let's say.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about disadvantages of horizontal. Okay, what would be the disadvantages of horizontal integration?
Uh, hor oh, okay, horizontal. Um, like conflicts maybe between the two competitors
Conflicts. Um, how
because they're
conflicts?
competing. Two competitors.
They were competing before as well.
Yeah. And if they
They're
merge,
still
they might have
competing.
conflict.
Okay, are you saying that with regards to culture, when the two businesses they merge together, so employees of one previous company might have some resentments against the employees of the newer company?
Yeah,
I
or
mean, when they
different
have to
ideas.
work together, yes. So there may
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
cultural clash, but this we would see this is something that relates to all integrations. This is not something
Oh.
that is restricted to horizontal integration. But this point is valid over here as well. What else? You see, all sort of
Uh.
integrations would result in this thing. Whenever
Yeah,
I'm merging myself with a new business or acquiring a new business, this could happen. What else? So, one, this rationalization, as we said, it might bring bad publicity.
because you're kicking out employees.
Hmm. And the next thing is that, as we said, since it would give the business more monopoly power, the business might be under heightened scrutiny of the regulators. There might be more investigations into the business's affairs.
Can you repeat? What
Hmm.
investigation?
More investigation into the business's affairs by regulators. So consider yourself as a regulator. There are 20 sellers in the market, each selling 5% of the market share. But suddenly, 10 of the businesses they join together and they constitute 50% of the market share. Now you would be more concerned about this one single business providing 50% of market share since they can exploit customers more.
Yeah.
So that is why they get more scrutiny from the regulators. Okay, what would be the impact on stakeholders?
Uh,
One stakeholders were the employees. We saw that they had job losses.
yeah.
Hmm. Any other stakeholder who might be affected? In all
Mm,
cases of integration, the integration happens to, for example, have more revenues and more profits. So the shareholders, they might be better off because of uh, new higher level of profits.
yeah.
Any other stakeholder who might be affected by it?
Uh,
Would there be any effect on consumers?
mm, yeah.
They would have less choice now.
Yeah.
Consumers now have less
Because
choice.
there's less competition and now
Hmm.
they can
Hmm.
only pick one.
Hmm. There are fewer options to choose from. Write this down, then we'll move to vertical integration.
So you said rationalization causes bad publicity,
Yes, sir.
and consumers would have less choices.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right. Now let's talk about vertical. Which one? Forward or backward? Let's do forward integration first. Customer advantages and what would be the impact on stakeholders?
For
So,
advantage, they
hmm,
could set their own prices.
very good. Gives business more command over the prices that they sell their goods at. Control over prices. Control over selling price. What else?
Uh, mm,
If no one else buys from you, at least this business would buy from you.
yeah,
So secure outlet of sales.
because yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Any other advantage or disadvantage that you can think of?
Disadvantage? Uh,
You could have lack of, for example, you have a experience in running refinery. Oil marketing company, although it's the same industry, but its dynamics would be different, right? So there could be
because you don't know marketing.
uh, you don't know the dynamics of the market in which
Yeah,
this
you
other
only know
company,
the oil and how to extract it.
how to refine it. Yes. So uh,
Yeah.
a generic point would be in running business and of a different. Hmm. There could be some negative repercussions from the customers, which we would fully understand when we get to the point of impact on stakeholders. So for now, let's just write negative. Um,
Sorry,
la-
so vertical forward integration
hmm.
is a it's when it's forward, it's the supplier company buying the
Okay. Uh, Three big stakeholders that we always have are, for example, workers, shareholders, consumers, government. So, what would be the impact on any of these? For shareholders, it's easy. Again, the business, they'd expect more profits since the business has now better control over supply chain.
and how is there a negative reaction from customers?
Negative reaction from customers, I'll get that too in a bit. The workers, I mean, let's get the easy points out of first. The workers, they might have more job security because there is more security over businesses sales. So why would workers in normal operations of business lose job when the sales of business drops, right? The business
Hmm.
can't sustain that level of workers. So when there is more uh, let's say security over sales, that would result in more security of workers' jobs. I mean, keeping other things constant, hoping that other things don't change. Just this one factor would give them more job security.
Mm.
Similarly, they might have more opportunities of, for example, the internal roles that are created. So previously, they were restricted to just one market where they could, if they moved internally within the business, that would have been movement within the same market, but now it could be in a different market. So more varied career opportunities for the workers.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, so the negative reaction from customers, it would be because, see, this retail outlet, previously it would buy from different suppliers. Now it's buying from just one.
Yeah.
So the variety that was previously available at this retail outlet would now be less. So
So the customers will be
hmm,
satisfied,
hmm.
dissatisfied.
For example, you are a baker who sells to a bakery.
Yeah.
All right. So that bakery previously it used to buy from different bakers.
Mm,
But now since you own the bakery, you would ask the bakery not to buy from competitors.
yeah.
And the customers in turn, they would have what they used to get from bakery was supply from different bakers. Now they would have from just one baker.
Yes.
So consumers they may resent this lack of competition, which could result in withdrawal of competitor products.
Mm,
Shall we get to the next thing? Vertical backward integration.
yeah.
Okay. So vertical backward integration, we said it was a business buying its supplier. So there would be advantages, there would be disadvantages, fact, mistakes. Your school offers Cambridge A levels as well, right?
For business.
For all the subjects.
Uh,
The other student I was
for
talking about who is at Dubai Gems, that's your school, right?
no, I mean Abu Dhabi.
Gems, Cambridge International. Okay.
No, I mean Abu Dhabi.
Mhm.
Our school, like, there's only one board per subject.
So for business, it's only Edexcel.
Only at the Excel, yeah. For ICT, it's only Cambridge. For psychology, it's only AQA at the Excel.
Nice. Is I mean, you haven't given exams of both. I was just wondering, I've taught students from Cambridge and Edexcel before. Is AQA much different?
AQA?
Hmm. I mean, you wouldn't know unless you have
Yeah, I
studied both
wouldn't know unless
AQ
I'm
and
studying the
Cambridge,
same
so yes.
subject
Huh.
in two boards, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. All right. All right. So let's think about this thing. Vertical.
But I think Cambridge is harder, more strict on
That's what
marking
that
and
that's what
grades.
I've heard. That's what I've heard that Cambridge is a bit tougher and Edexcel and AQA they are relatively easier for
Yeah.
students. Mhm. I've heard. I mean, now I've taught many students of Edexcel from UAE. It's not that common in Pakistan. In Pakistan, majority of the schools and majority of the students they have that they have to. I mean, they don't even have an option. They just told that you have to do this Cambridge stuff,
Oh.
Cambridge A levels. Hmm. All right. Vertical backward integration. So, what would be the advantages of you acquiring the business of your supplier?
Uh, Fixed price or bargaining power?
Very good. You'll have more control over two aspects. One is more control over simple. You'll have more control over quality,
Oh, yeah.
and you'll have more control over time you get the supply. So when you did not own the business, your supplier told you when you could have the product.
Yeah.
Now you, being the owner of
And
the
tell them
business,
when,
would
because you own them.
hmm, you'll have greater control over it. Obviously, still it can't be a dictator-like position that you tell them and they deliver you that very
Yeah.
point of time, but you'll have more control over it. You'll have more say over it.
Yeah. More influence over the.
Hmm. What other advantage?
Uh,
This one's again the question of ethics comes into play, but for now, let's just say we write it down. You could ask this new supplier that you now own. I mean, this existing supplier that you now own.
Well, you can also like tell the supplier to not serve other competitors.
Excellent. Yes, yes. So you can make